It is exactly 9 o'clock East African time. I trust you've had yourself a wonderful Thursday, this 26th day of September 2024, the last Thursday of September. Good evening. I am George Maringa. On sign language interpretation is Rhoda Nyamai. Welcome to the Insight. And tonight we've got a rather special program. We shall be crossing over to the coastal county of Kilifi for a one-on-one conversation that will be steered by my colleague Victor Muyakane. You want to stand by for that and much more, especially on matters to do with maritime issues. Remember, Mount Kenya University has been granted the award, or the charter and the rights to be able to initiate the first maritime institution in the coastal region as well as in the country, the first private institution to do so. Victor Muyakane is on standby to be able to bring us that conversation that we shall be having later on tonight on the program. Victor is right there. Good evening, Victor. Perhaps what do you have in store for us? And of course, Victor will be bringing us details of whatever he has in store for us tonight. Victor Muyakane coming live all the way from the coast. But before then, let's bring you up to speed with the stories making headlines tonight. Tonight, a memorial service has been held at Muyakane Stadium in Nyeri County to honor the 21 victims of the tragic fire at Hillside Academy, attracting mourners from across the nation.
These young souls, innocent young boys, our heart cries for them.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki says that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has gathered evidence implicating high-profile individuals associated with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in facilitating the Gen Z protests.
And I am informed by DCI that high-level prosecutions will ensue any time from now.
Please don't try this at home.
Mount Kenya University MKU launches a Maritime Academy in Malindi, making it the first privately sponsored maritime training institution in Kenya.
The Mount Kenya University Malindi Maritime Academy is officially opened.
The academy aims to provide students with essential skills for success in the maritime industry. We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. You can engage us on the socials at George Maringa _ at Muyakane, at TV47 News. Our SMS line is 22047. Our WhatsApp number will also be on your screens shortly. Let's get the show on the road, shall we? And 9 of the 21 students who perished in the tragic fire at Hillside Academy in Kieni, Nyeri County, have been laid to rest at their homes. This follows a requiem mass held at Muyakane Stadium, attended by leaders from various sectors who mourned the loss of the young lives and called for increased focus on student safety in schools. Ruga Ival opens our broadcast tonight with that report.
In a dignified assembly, members of the community, teachers, parents and leaders converged at the Muyakane Sports Field to honor the memory of 21 male students who tragically lost their lives in the Endarasha Inferno. The white coffins were meticulously arranged within the tent, each adorned with the name and portrait of the respective student, while 21 candles stood at the entrance, symbolizing a heartfelt welcome to this national somber last respect. As attendees entered, they were enveloped in disbelief, grappling with the harsh reality of the loss that befell these young souls earlier this month. When each speaker rose to address the congregation, teachers and parents took to the podium to share cherished memories of their learners and children who have departed.
The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds.
With your wonderful memories of joy, laughter, courage, which you brought in our rights.
Governor Mutahi Kahiga, on the other hand, disclosed that the burials would proceed in phases, with 9 students already laid to rest at their respective homes.
Tuna wawili ambao bado wako katika hospitali na kuna 140 na mmoja ambao wako nyumbani. Kamati yetu imeketi na kufikiria na kusema tukimaliza maneno ya mazishi tutahakikisha wale watoto wote 143 pamoja na wale wako hospitali tutaweza kuwatafutia usaidizi ndipo waweze kurudi shule.
CS Education Julius Migosi underscored the need for a comprehensive investigation to ascertain the cause of the fire, asserting that schools must uphold stringent safety standards that were once established.
As a ministry, we have made the decision that this has to be the turning point. Our schools must be safe havens for nurturing the potential of our children.
The burial ceremonies commence today and are anticipated to conclude on the 28th of this month. Tomorrow, 10 more students will be interred, with 2 additional burials planned for Saturday, which will be the last day for the exercise. All the burial expenses have been catered for by the government. Ruga Ival, TV47.
Thank you, Ruga, for that. Tonight, history has been made as Mount Kenya University, MKU, becomes the first institution of higher learning to offer maritime, the first privately sponsored maritime training institution in Kenya. On the sidelines of this, we now want to engage our very own Victor Muyakane, but that will be coming a little bit later on in just a short while. Remember, that is what TV47 has been following on, but in the meantime, a section of opposition politicians has come out in support of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua amid reports of an imminent impeachment motion against him. During a funeral service for the 21 students who died in the Hillside Academy fire in Nyeri, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his DAP Kenya counterpart Eugene Wamalwa pledged their support for Gachagua against the impeachment. Mike Kagwongo with the details.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua can't rest easy, albeit there been a political storm coming his way, after some Azimio leaders vowed to stand with him against an impending impeachment motion targeting him. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and his DAP Kenya counterpart Eugene Wamalwa have declared support for the embattled DP, who is reportedly fighting to remain in office.
Na wale ambao wanapanga kuasha moto mlima huu, nataka niambie watu wa mlima, Your Excellency, mlima huu una marafiki. Mlima huu una marafiki. Mkiona huyu Kalonzo hapa, huyu alikuwa rafiki wa Kibaki, muhula wa pili alikuwa makamu wa Kibaki. Na ni rafiki wa huu mlima.
But when the moment comes, aliyekuwa makamu wa rais, mzee amelala, Mwai Kibaki will always be there for the people of Nyeri.
Commenting on the issue, Gachagua said he has no hatred against his perceived political enemies, adding that the residents of Mount Kenya region are willing to invite anyone who is ready to address their concerns.
They return love with love. They return kindness with kindness. They are very forgiving, but they don't forget.
Na nchi ni kubwa kabisa kushinda sisi zote. Kwa hivyo heshima pia wahenga walisema sio utumwa.
Ukiona Wamalwa hapa, mnajua Wamalwa alikuwa naibu wa Kibaki muhula wa kwanza. Mjue ya kwamba mna marafiki. If the day comes and this mountain calls upon us, we will stand with you, you will not walk alone.
This, as reports now indicate, that his relationship with his boss, President William Ruto, has kept souring before the 2027 polls, forcing the former Mathera Member of Parliament to seek an alternative political party. The Party of National Unity, PNU, and the New Democrats have been reported as the possible alternatives for the Deputy President. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
All of us in our own ways.
On the insert tonight, we focus on matters maritime issues. And joining us to be able to tell us what is in store, especially at the backdrop of the first private institution to focus on maritime issues, that is the Mount Kenya University, MKU, is my colleague Victor Muyakane, joining us live from the coast in Kilifi County. Good evening, Victor. I trust you can hear me. It's been quite a tumultuous day, last 2 days, especially in the run-up to this event. But what especially does this Maritime Institute mean for the coastal people?
Right, thank you, George Maringa. I can hear you loud and clear. And just like you said, in the last few days, I mean, we're the coast, a place well known for, luxury and ease, but we've been working hard. The story of Malindi, you can't talk about the course and the institution without talking about Malindi as a town. And some of the earliest records by Western explorers speak of this town that is at the end of a long river which originates from the mountain. The mountain in question is Mount Kenya. The river that they describe is the river we call River Tana, River Galana, River Athi rather, River Galana or River Sabaki. And the town they're talking about is Malindi. Malindi has existed for hundreds and hundreds of years. As early as the 12th century, we were talking about Malindi, and the key thing about Malindi was that the port was there, and it served as some of the early versions of what we call today the blue economy, trade and exporting trade, fishing, and other seafaring activities. Now, for this university, Mount Kenya University, to set up the very first private institution, a marine academy that focuses on training of seafarers, it's almost poetic justice. It's almost like a hearkening back to the heritage of what Malindi is. Now, this university, this academy is quite significant, George, for the following reasons. First, it's a level of technology involved. Everything today is digital. We're living in a digital world. And this university, this academy, has employed the absolute best technology in terms of training. They say if you cannot take if the mountain cannot come to Muhammad, then Muhammad must go to the mountain. What they did is that they brought the equipment into the classroom to allow the students not to go to the sea, but to bring the sea into the classroom. I'm talking about simulation. They're able to set up any sort of interactive event you can think about for a person who is working in a boat or in a ship or in an ocean-going vessel of any kind. So we've got something called a bridge simulator. A bridge is basically where the captain seats and where the equipment that controls the ship is involved. On one side, you've got something that the radar that looks around and sees what obstacles or other vessels exist. There's another one here in the middle that talks about the controls of the ship, the speed and so on. And then there's also another screen there that talks about the charts. So this technology is absolutely cutting edge. We've got the latest in terms of simulation that is able to give the students a real-time experience that protects them and helps them to be able to deliver their absolute best performance in the field. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why and how significant this college and this training is. It's going to have a big impact in the blue economy, it is hoped, and of course in the lives and the livelihoods of the people of Malindi and the coast, and of course Africa as a whole.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Victor Muyakane, for that. And we shall be crossing over to you for a deeper conversation on the inside. High-profile individuals, including politicians who allegedly funded the Gen Z protests, will soon face prosecution, according to Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki. Appearing before the National Assembly's Security Committee, Kindiki said the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, will soon charge those involved in the protests, which he claims were intended to overthrow the government. Senior political reporter Elizabeth Mutuku has the details.
Appearing before the National Assembly's Committee on Administration and Internal Security, Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki has now said that youth-led anti-government protests aimed at unconstitutionally overthrowing President William Ruto. Kindiki also defending the police use of force during demonstrations, stressing that it was their duty to safeguard government institutions, including Parliament, particularly in the face of unprecedented protests that posed a significant threat to the country.
And those who took advantage of that expression of democratic opinion to commit crime also are intended to access State House and take it over unconstitutionally.
Kindiki now saying that those who financed the anti-government protests, including high-profile individuals and politicians, will soon face prosecution. The CS has also said that no one involved in unlawful activities will be spared and vowed to remain firm in upholding the law. His remarks, however, drew criticism from the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who through his social media platforms condemned the use of government machinery to intimidate leaders.
And I am informed by DCI that high-level prosecutions will ensue anytime from now, of including political leaders who financed, and we have evidence they financed people to loot shops, to kill Kenyans, expose them to danger. And we cannot countenance the kind of mayhem we saw in July and June, for whatever reason.
Even as the pressure groups condemned the use of excessive force by the police during demos, placing the death toll to over 60 people, the Interior Cabinet Secretary told the committee that 42 Kenyans lost their lives during protests and 132 are still missing. He, however, faced tough questions on why abductions are still occurring, despite his declaration that no Kenyan should suffer at the hands of police officers, particularly through abductions
and false disappearances. It has been common knowledge because these 132 members who are missing, where are they? They can't just miss out, cannot just disappear in thin air, and yet this is a country of Kenya. We have extensive security network in this country. Where are these people and who are they?
This administration does not condone abductions or extrajudicial killings or enforced disappearances. So it is unfair to visit a policy of extrajudicial killings on government unless we are provided with the evidence.
Nairobi has the highest number of missing persons with 34 cases reported. Nyeri follows with 28 people missing, while Kirinyaga has 16 and Nyandarua 13. Other counties affected include Kitui with 9, Garissa 8, Machakos 6, Mombasa 5, Kisumu 4, Mandera 4, Kajiado 3, Tharaka Nithi 1 and Wajir 1 person. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Tonight, over 200 members of parliament have signed an impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. The motion, which sets a historical precedent, cites 6 grounds for impeachment. The signatures and the motion will be forwarded to the Speaker of the National Assembly on Friday. Apollo Kamau reports.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's fate in the Kenya Kwanza administration appears sealed after more than 200 MPs appended their signatures in support of the impeachment motion against him, surpassing the threshold of 117 MPs needed for the motion to be tabled in Parliament.
I was shocked. I thought I would be top 10. But when I arrived to sign the impeachment motion, I was actually number 242, and there was a queue already. So meaning that we are going to have more than whatever we require to impeach the deputy president.
It is a foregone conclusion because the deputy president has asked for it. So I believe we just have to wait.
Gashagua's impeachment motion, now in its final stages and expected to be handed over to the Speaker on Friday, cites 6 grounds against the Deputy President. The grounds include violation of the Constitution, disrespecting President William Ruto, going against government policies, leaking confidential cabinet information, against the Official Secrets Act, abuse of office and gross misconduct, as well as crimes under national law, among them financing the Gen Z protests.
The person that we are going to impeach is not a deputy governor. He's a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. The person that we are going to send home through the impeachment motion is not a lightweight. It's a person who has anchored himself into very strong tribal beliefs. The person that we're going to send home is a person who participated in an attempted coup, actually against our president. So this is a deep-rooted person.
Tulishangaa sana ni namna gani baada ya rais amezungumza State House Ikulu, tukaona naibu wa rais anazungumza Mombasa na anakanusha hizo maneno yote, maneno nyingi.
With all eyes set on who will propose the motion and second, President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's foot soldiers have picked a tentative list of MPs from where a proposer and a seconder of the historic motion will come from. In the Kenya Kwanza camp, a proposer is expected to be picked among a list of 5 that includes Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, Kimilili MP Didmus Barasa, Laikipia East MP Mwangi Kiunjuri, Gatanga MP Edward Moreu, and Mukurweini MP John Kagushia.
So the mover of the motion to impeach the deputy president, after careful consideration, and the said person as we speak today is undergoing training and seminar on how he will prosecute this matter. That person, I can assure the country, that is the person with the qualifications of the judge of the High Court.
The Azimio coalition is expected to pick the second of the motion from a list of 3 ODM MPs led by Minority Leader Junet Mohamed, Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo, and Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo. The High Court has ordered that missing Wajir MCA Yusuf Ahmed be produced in court on Friday, whether dead or alive. The Dela Ward MCA has been missing for 2 weeks. His alleged abduction causing outrage among family, friends and political leaders who are demanding transparency and justice. The case will be heard tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sheila Chalangat reports.
Delaware MCA Yusuf Hussein Ahmed has been missing for 2 weeks now, and since his alleged abduction on the 13th of September around South Bay area, Nairobi, frantic efforts to find him have proven futile for his family, friends and fellow leaders.
We are running from one place to another. At one point, if I take you to my house, more than 50 people are in the house because of the elected member.
Yusuf Ahmed was last seen on Enterprise Road, where he was forcefully taken by armed individuals. Eyewitness accounts describing that 5 assailants pulled him from a vehicle and drove away.
If this particular leader has committed any crime, he's supposed to be before a court of law, not in detention.
That nothing can be heard, nothing can be done. Mr. Waziri, to be honest, I feel like we are in a failed state.
Allegations of the elected MCA having been abducted by officers attached to the National Police Service have been rife.
The leader and the other cases that we are tracking of people just getting lost, and it should not happen. But please bear with us, we're trying our best. We just have an imperfect system.
Hence, his family petitioning to the High Court to have the Inspector General of Police to produce him either dead or alive. And there could be light at the end of the tunnel for them, as Justice Alexander Muteti has now ordered police to produce Yusuf Hussein Ahmed.
Let us release this MCA, whether abducted by whatever, it doesn't matter. The Kenyan security agencies have capacity to find out where he is.
As I submit the supplementary information, I'll also submit what I will have signed off as the status of this matter.
As the search continues and calls of justice gets louder at the Wajir County Assembly, ward representatives have suspended operations in solidarity with their colleague. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Thank you, Sheila. The MKU Maritime Academy in Malindi has received official accreditation from the Kenya Maritime Authority, opening new opportunities for locals in the region to benefit from the blue economy through world-class training. Here is a look at the proceedings.
Wako ndani ya maji. This is the first cohort at Kenya's first non-government maritime training institution, showcasing their training activities.
Wapili pia ameongea pale, kumbuka hawa ni wanafunzi wetu. Makofi kwa.
Mount Kenya University is poised to offer maritime education that will help Kenya harness its blue economy.
I think it will be an area where people should really take advantage so that they can be doing their trainings in the country. And the issues of now having to go to Tanzania or neighboring countries for trainings will be a thing of the past.
Vice Chancellor Professor Deogratius Jagani believes that as the MKU Academy develops skilled manpower, an opportunity emerges for investors to explore the vast untapped potential in this sector.
Through the Malindi Maritime Academy, MKU will provide training that meets international maritime standards, opening doors for our students to pursue successful career in the maritime industry worldwide.
The MKU Council chairman echoed these views, stating that investing in maritime vessels and the supply chain can yield substantial returns while driving job creation and economic diversification.
90% of all the internationally traded goods, they are shipped by sea. 90%.
While presenting the accreditation certificate to MKU, the Principal Secretary for Maritime Affairs, Geoffrey Kaituku, highlighted the government's commitment to advancing the blue economy, assuring students of government support towards achieving their aspiration.
The government is fully committed to supporting this institution and ensuring that it becomes a world-class center for maritime education and research.
Both Kilifi Women Rep and Malindi MP urged local residents to take the chance to refine their skills and seize opportunities in the maritime sector.
Congratulations, MKU. I'm happy to be associated with the MKU. Na mimi nafikiri nitakuwa student. Manake ni wapwani kweli lakini ale maji mimi.
Malindi has a rich maritime history. With MKU Maritime Academy here, the region can revive its seaborne prosperity through the new training and opportunities.
Unveil.
Quinto Wafula, TV 47.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Well, thank you, Quinto Wafula, for that report, which leads us to the first part of the Insight tonight, and I want to cross over to the coast where my colleague Victor Muyakane is on standby and will be steering that important conversation. He will tell you what it is all about and also be able to inform you more on what to expect, especially in the coming days. He had given you a prelude of what happened in the last 2 days, but now it's now to get more deeper issues, more insight tonight on the Insight. I am George Maringa, leaving you with Victor Muyakane. Good night, but be sure to stay tuned to the Insight as we continue to focus on more important issues, especially in matters maritime affairs.
All right, all right. Thank you, George. Thank you so much. You did a great job in Nairobi. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today is World Maritime Day, and it's also the day that the Mount Kenya University officially received accreditation for the Mount Kenya University Malindi Maritime Academy. Now, since the theme is the sea, who else to have tonight than an expert of long-standing, distinguished consultant, expert, advisor, and somebody who's served in the very Ministry of Government as an expert on this, as a PS for this. We want to take a short break. You can see her with me tonight. We want to take a short break. When we come back, we'll have the conversation with the great Ambassador Nancy Karugetho. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you?
Number 1. He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
All right, good evening, viewers. If you're joining us right now on Insight tonight, we're talking about, or rather the focus is on World Maritime Day. But to get to understand what this day means to you and I, we've got an expert like no other. One of the most distinguished maritime experts in the continent of Africa. And we are blessed to have her in this country. And she did serve at some point as the principal secretary in charge of this very matter in the government. Right now, she serves as a special envoy and advisor to the president on matters of maritime and other things as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Ambassador Nancy Karigithu. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
It's a pleasure to have you.
I'm honored. Thank you.
Asante sana. I think just straight off the bat, one of the things that we really wish to understand is there's a buzzword that's been going around over the last few years. The buzzword has now become an entire department of the government.
Okay.
But there's still a lot of people that don't understand what this is. Would you care to break this down for us as simply as you can, what the blue economy actually is?
All right. Thank you very much to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. Let me start by saying that, or wishing us a happy World Maritime Day.
Happy World Maritime Day. Navigating the future, safety first. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
So how does it differ from a conventional economy, if you say?
The blue economy is, let's say, a generic term that is used to describe the economic exploitation of the resources and other related activities to do with the oceans and seas. Yes, if you could say that.
Right.
And one of the biggest activities, there are many, there are 13 sectors, 15 subsectors, and 87 different activities.
Wow.
That's what has been determined. When we talk of the blue economy, is the waters in the oceans and also inland water bodies that can be used for navigation. So in the case of Kenya, we could be talking of our coastline. And because this is an area that is very much impacted by international conventions, and the mother of which, the convention that regulates all the uses of the sea, is known as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, that was agreed upon by the entire fraternity of humanity, because as we know, the Earth, somebody asked once, why do we call it planet Earth? We should have called it planet Ocean, because 71% of the world is actually water.
Absolutely, we can see from the globe here, it's mainly blue.
Yes,
right.
And you've not even counted the inland water bodies,
so the lakes, the rivers and so on.
It's quite mind-boggling to imagine how much that represents. Now, when we think that we could leave that all silent and sleeping, no exploitation of the resources, living, non-living. In fact, we are told that we don't even know half of what is available in those spaces.
Right.
Then you begin to imagine that we are literally ignoring a big chunk of what we could be using for economic development. That doesn't, discount also the inland water bodies. And in Kenya, you begin to see the Lake Victoria, the second deepest freshwater lake in the world.
Absolutely.
Then you've got the Lake Turkana, which has enormous potential. In fact, it's also known as the Jade Sea. Enormous touristic potential, not to mention also the fisheries potential, and many others. We've got Lake Bogoria. I mean,
absolutely unique water bodies.
Unique water bodies, which we've not even...
great potential.
With great potential for a country that is looking for resources to develop. Now, we've been told and we've learned, and we did this when we were doing our first national maritime conference in 2015. We were able to work with experts and to determine that even Kenya, I call it the liquid estate that we have, the water bodies. When you count how much space we've been allowed by the Convention on the Law of the Sea, then you count the inland water bodies, because under the EEZ scheme, you're talking of 300 nautical miles from the shoreline.
From the shoreline, yes.
Those are waters under Kenya's jurisdiction. Then you count the water bodies, you put them together, then you'll begin to see that our liquid estate could comprise of 37 more counties. If we look at...
Wow. That big.
Yeah, sorry, 31 more counties. We could create... If we look at what we have now, we could create another 31 counties.
That's incredible to imagine.
Incredible.
And when you think about that, just sorry to cut you short, but when you think about that, then immediately you're looking at the economic potential of such a resource.
Economic potential, opportunities for national development, wealth creation for the country,
and jobs,
businesses. Oh.
It's incredible.
Enormous. It's incredible.
But then somebody would ask, if it's this incredible, and well, we've had these resources for as long as we've been a state and so on. What are the challenges, and what's stopping us from achieving even half of the potential that these resources avail to us?
Let me start by saying that since independence, or since, if I may say, time immemorial, we have been people who relied so much on land. We concentrated our economic...
The so-called real estate.
Yes, the real estate.
Yes.
Water was for leisure, and even then we could say that we turned our backs to the sea in terms of potential for economic development. Part of it is because of lack of awareness. We did not see, but... And give it to us. We are not the only ones, because that has been, the blue economy concept has only gained momentum not very long ago, because
recently, yes.
When we were concentrating on the green, agriculture, some countries in the small island countries in the Pacific said, we don't have the land ourselves. Right. So, but we've got massive water. And that's what we live from, and then therefore the blue economy concept started developing. And you're talking of many opportunities. You're talking of fisheries, you're talking of transport, you're talking of tourism.
Right.
And it begins, it's mind-boggling of what you can do. You can do controlled development, for example, aquaculture.
Aquaculture.
Farming fish, or you can get the wild fish. A big potential. Then also the ocean is one, if you could say, and there are some specific features that give us, let me say, advantages. For example, if you think of the wild beast migration, would you believe that when that one is happening on land, there is another even bigger migration happening on land because of our geographical positioning and along in our waters at certain times of the year? Because of the way the world is, there is an upwelling conditions that bring us fish from as far away as even Australia. There's another migration. So we are on that, path. So
the path, yes.
You're talking sports fishing. You're talking of food security. A lot of things that we could do with that, but. Again, let me say that it takes a lot of issues to put it all together. We're talking of governance issues. You're talking of an area that is 65% of that ocean is under no man's jurisdiction. And that's where the law, the cooperation, international cooperation on a grand scale must take place. Yes.
So I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself, there was a time when we didn't have this sort of structure. Yes. There was a time which it seemed like the wild, wild west, if you may. There was a time when we were not as intentional about creating a structure and in how we're going to actually exploit the resources that we have.
Yes.
And even now there's a conversation around exploiting them sustainably. What would you say is the single most imperative or motivation for this sort of change? What caused everyone to wake up and, you know, they turned their backs on these resources? What caused everyone to turn back to these resources? And where would you say we are right now as a country?
I think you could say that the realization came up on us gradually, particularly as a country, as a region, because there's only so much that you can get from the land. And it doesn't make sense to keep such an idle resource for long. Look at us with a youth bulge and, you know, land resources shrinking. And, you know, with all the potential in the sea, how can you not?
Absolutely.
Can we not?
Absolutely.
Take advantage of that? And then with the push, or rather now the global community now, coming up with structures and the realization that, yes, this is, by the way, it's been called the last unexplored frontier, because this is where we haven't done much, not just Kenya, but globally. There's a lot we don't know. But then also comes the realization that sustainability is a major issue, climate change issues. Shipping is the single the biggest economic activity that takes place, you know, in the waters, in the oceans. And with the realization of the impact of industrialization and particularly greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere and the impact it's having, when initially, let me say that, and the reason we have World Maritime Day is because the UN set aside today, the third Thursday of the third week of every September, for the world to stop and, you know, listen and begin to understand, to raise awareness of how much shipping, how important shipping is to all of us as a global community, and how much maritime transport sits at the heart of economic development and every nation's journey into, you know, wealth creation and future. Now,
just actually on that point, I think most people will felt the pinch when the ship got stuck in the canal during COVID.
Yes.
That's when people actually started to realize the importance of shipping.
Yes,
and that ship had a lot of cargo that was meant for businesses and so on. So when the stock was not there, people started questioning. And it's all about this ship getting stuck.
And also how it interconnected we are as a global community.
Precisely.
So now I'm saying, like I was saying, the realization of how much shipping means to us is the reason why, and the ignorance of most people is the reason this day was created.
Right.
So that countries then take an opportunity to focus and educate.
Even create awareness.
Yeah, create awareness, educate their populace on what it's doing, because literally, look at us now. Everything around us has been touched by shipping. Yet how many people think about it? We know about aviation and airports. Every little boy and their brother, when they're young, they see the planes and they want to be pilots.
Yes.
But shipping does so much more, and yet we do not realize. So when the Paris Agreement was being created and with a focus on climate change and the actions that countries, or rather we need to take for sustainability, would you believe shipping, because it works in the background, was not touched?
Wow.
But incrementally or increasingly, of course, the shipping industry has come under focus, because it also plays a role, a big role in terms of contributing to climate change, and therefore the decarbonization of the shipping, the industry, of the maritime industry has come under focus. So sustainability, sustainable exploitation then becomes very, very critical.
Absolutely.
And therefore very important for us here.
Indeed.
And that's why the theme speaks to us, navigating into the future, safety first.
Safety first.
So with all the changes in terms of technology that we have to put in, we're talking clean fuels, different fuels, because now it's the green fuels coming in. We don't know them, but yet we have to put safety first. We're talking of technological changes, digitalization, a lot of information what's the impact of on security and cyber security particularly. How do we navigate, how to navigate into that future, but of course without losing focus on safety.
Safety first.
Safety first, yeah.
You know, there's a lot we could talk about there. Just in the answer you gave to the previous question is a whole lot. Like, for example, in cybersecurity, a few years ago, ladies and gentlemen, Musk was hacked. You know, one of the biggest shipping companies in the entire universe was hacked, and thousands of ships were adrift. They didn't know how to track all this and all that. Cybersecurity is clearly an issue, but I regretfully, I want to bring us back, bring us back home.
Yeah.
The oceans are vast, like you said.
Yes.
And basically our waters are vast. And since now the focus is on this thing that a lot of people had ignored for years and years, then there's a sense in which we feel like we're playing catch up.
Yes.
So then a question comes. It does look like quite a lot of investment is needed to not just get up to speed, but to do it properly. You're talking about cleaner fuels and cleaner shipping, you know, more conscientious shipping. Yeah. When a lot of countries are still transitioning from just wind-driven shipping, you know, with the doors and everything and the limitations that come with that, to actually motorized shipping with the marine engines and so on. And now we're talking about hydrogen fuels, we're talking about nuclear, we're talking about all these things. Could you talk to us a little bit about the sort of investment that is needed to reap the benefits from this resource, and what, in your opinion and in your experience, you've seen the Kenyan government do to be able to attract this investment?
Okay, let me start by saying that first of all, we look at the changes that are needed. We need to acknowledge that the change that is needed is not on one country. We have to all move together. The world has to move together, right? Because climate has no boundaries, and you cannot have one part of the world that is ready, but the other part is not ready. For example, we have to put the structures, all of us together. For example, the current fleet is on different technology, fossil fuel, but now we need to change either by way of retrofitting, right? Building new ones, using more, for example, making the ports ready, for example, because it would help to have a ship that is modern, using modern, modern
propulsion systems
and propulsion systems,
and the infrastructure is...
And then comes to a port that doesn't have the corresponding infrastructure to either serve it. For example, if it is shore power ready, because that's one of the solutions that has been identified. Instead of the ships coming and burning fossil fuel or fuel while they are idling or while they're doing operations, because ships engines must always be on, then they're connected to a shore power.
Right. Kind of like how airplanes are connected to a power source inside the airport.
So the same thing, you can't have ships that are ready, but then when they come here, they're not. Right. You're talking of fuels, you're talking of production, transportation, storage, supply. You can't have...
It's a whole value chain there.
It's a whole value chain that has to be there. You're talking of a whole lot of research, for example, because it's a whole new area.
And personnel.
Exactly, that's what I was coming to. The people, how both onshore, offshore, the ports, how are we going, how do we train them to be able to work with the new fuels, the standards, even within the ports. So you begin to see that there's a whole raft of, changes and solutions that we need. Now, IMO, as the global setting body, is very busy trying to, bring everybody together, and we agree how we are going to do it. First of all, last July, the IMO sitting in the Marine Environmental Protection Committee came up with a standard, the strategy. By 2050, net zero and stages in between, what we all have to prepare. But then you begin to see that, yes, we need to do a lot. We may not have the finances, because when you think about the developed world, the imbalance in resources, but one of the principles is we must have a just and equitable transition, because this is a major transition. We can't leave anybody behind.
Right, you said everyone has to move together.
All of us have to move together.
Right.
So it's coming up with a balance. First of all, yes, working together in collaboration, that we must do. I mean, it's recognized as a global community, we have to do that. And because there has not been a definition really standard of just equitable transition, leaving no one behind, it's working out how does it impact me as a country, my people, the stakeholders, going right down to the local communities who rely on or who are impacted by the industry, and then coming up with the solutions, adaptation and also mitigation. Because when you begin to think about it, for example, Africa has contributed very little into this crisis that we are in, and yet Africa
but we're
has
bearing
suffered
the
a
biggest
lot.
brunt.
So how do you place the balance in terms of equitable transition?
Absolutely.
Then you also find that of the funding that we need, we also get into a disadvantage, because we are the ones who are caught in this international financing institutions balance, I mean, not balance, but terms that really impact on how to access the finance.
Right.
When you think about return on investment, you know, when you think about that, you know, some of the terms that are placed on us, risk, high risk, currency risk, and all that, which begin to impact on the access. It
impacts on the access to finance.
Access to finance.
It looks like we're trying to do this with our hands tied.
Then also, not really, then also, we've got, we also have to look at the technology. Do we have the technology? Can we do, you know, the technology transfer? That's where collaboration comes. Who has the technology that we can do? Because you have to get the, I mean, if it's the fuel, produced here, but so you begin to see the need for incubation of joint incubation of projects, so that we can have real changes where it's supposed to be needed. Then you begin also to look at the resources. If you think about Africa, we've got resources galore that will be, or that are ripe for the contribution into solving this, you know, some of these issues. When you think of the solar power, green power, when you think of the hydro, the wind energy, and a lot of things that we could do.
Like geothermal.
The geothermal, and as well as the circular economy, you know, the opportunities that are there. Carbon sinks, you know, when you think of the mangrove, for example, that have been said to be bigger carbon sinks than the rainforests. Right here. So you begin to see the plethora of solutions that we can provide, even here as a country, that can begin to build, you know, or to contribute into the sector. So it's having a lot of conversations, awareness, educating each other, seizing the moments, and working together to come up with those solutions for the benefit.
I love that, and I'm sure the people at home are wondering, okay, so here's a question for you.
Okay.
We've talked about where we've come from. We've talked about where we are.
Yeah.
Would you care to paint for us a picture of the future, where we're going, where we should go? Would you talk to us and to the Kenyans who are watching exactly what sort of opportunities exist for the common Wananchi to plug in, for communities to plug in, for institutions to plug into this revolution that's happening, this change, this focus, this you know, effort?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that, please.
Okay, let me say that there are so many opportunities in terms of, you could say that there is something for everyone. For example, the jobs for the youth, training, in order to work in that space. And that's why I'm that's why I wanted to touch on that. That's why it's such a special day, and I'm glad that it's happening on World Maritime Day.
Exactly.
Having the MKU open the facility in an area that has not had such capacity. Let me congratulate the university for seeing that, gap and coming to fill it, because it's important that we build the capacity, particularly of the young people.
All right.
Where we are going.
I'm so sorry. I want them to get it fresh and ready. Would you give me a moment? Let's go for a short break. Good people, bring out your notebooks and your pens. Some wisdom is coming, some insight is coming on exactly what you can do to actually be part of this journey that has a lot in store for all of you. We'll be right back after this short message. Please don't go away. So sorry.
No problem.
They asked me to do that.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated, and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Insight, and we were talking quite deeply and quite interestingly about maritime affairs and the blue economy and how you and I can be able to not just take part in it, but actually not just participate, but actually gain a benefit from it ourselves, as well as take and evolve our society and our country and the future of our children to the next level. You were making a very big point. If you recall that, please keep going.
Okay, let me say that we have come of age as a maritime nation, and I think that Kenyans need to embrace this space. If you have extra money, please bring it into the maritime sector. We've had enough of stone and mortar investment,
real estate, blocks and sand and cement.
Yes, this is an area where we can do so much more. Then the other thing I wanted to say is that global, events globally are pointing at us as Africa to be able to play a more, important role. And of course, we talk of Africa, but still the country itself. And we have what it takes as Kenyans to be the springboard for what, Africa can do. Right. Let me start by talking of the demographics, or the demographic dividend for Kenya. Great. You can't even begin to think of what the young people can do. Techno savvy, well-traveled, speak very well, grounded in English. English is the center, like I said earlier, is the language of the sector. Is the language of safety. And that's the most important thing to note. They speak English very well, no accent, So, because the idea of the language is to communicate, to be able to communicate and to also get instructions and affect them. But at the heart of all this and what we can do is capacity building. It's training. And therefore having enough infrastructure for training is very, very key. And investment in the sector, and that's why I don't know whether you heard the VC saying that there's a time even I met him when I was engaging KEPSA, because I'm trying to interest people with capital, including the private sector. Please bring the money into this space. Train the people, set up, even if it is cottage industries in this sector, that can contribute to the blue economy. When we talk of the personnel, that's one of the most critical. The people, you know, who are expected to work on board ships. The fleet, the global fleet, even as we are going into automation, because now we are, you know, the future is, the theme is saying, navigating the future will see ships that are, like we are getting the Tesla,
self-drive cars,
you know, even it's coming into the sea, but that's still a long way off. So we'll still,
there's still a need for people.
Yes, there'll still be a need for people. So starting that accelerated investments in training is very, very, very important.
One person would ask, accelerated training to get into this, are there opportunities?
Oh, and that's what I'm driving at, because two events that happened in the recent past, the COVID-19.
Pay attention, folks.
COVID-19 exposed the Achilles heel of the maritime sector, because there before we had no notice, or we didn't pay attention to, well, we have crew, they're qualified, where they come from, it's a big issue. But now, COVID shuts almost half the world, and therefore movement is restricted. And the number of times that ships would come and wonder, can I get officers from Kenya, because they are here, because we aligned ourselves with IMO structures and kept, you know, our ports open for crew change, because there was a crisis. But now there are crew who cannot travel to come and take up jobs, to go on leave, to replace. So that was number one, physical restrictions arose. Then immediately, almost thereafter, as we were recovering from COVID, in terms of crew movement and placements, the Russia-Ukraine conflict came. And between them, 14% of crew were off.
Wow.
Now you begin to see a world that's looking to diversify the sources of labor. Diversity in two ways. First of all, where the labor is coming from, and Africa becomes very attractive for that, because of this big, like I said, demographic dividend. Many young people who are ready and who have the right mindset, who can, and who are ready and who can, you know, bring that talent into the sector.
Okay.
Then you begin also to see the gender. I must speak about that.
Please, please go ahead.
Very,
absolutely.
I mean, important point for me. Now, the shipping industry has not been very strong on SDG 5 for reasons of traditional thinking and historical. And therefore, there is this now realization that if we are going to make the transition, first of all, diversity in terms of physical recruitment area, but then, of course, you cannot do it with only half the gender.
Absolutely.
If you think about it now, 2%, only 2% of, for example, the seafarers globally are women. So why is half of humanity not playing the role it should in contributing into this big transition that we must do? And therefore, we have our work cut out for us. We're trying, and a lot of, I mean, the global efforts are being made to bring everybody on board, and particularly more women, because we must do it. The time is now. So I wish I don't know how I could tell Kenyans, please, let's invest in this maritime sector. Let me tell you, young people need to understand that, like I said earlier today, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will always think it's stupid. This is an area where it doesn't judge anybody on their ability to score. I'm not saying it's bad, but then judging our children by the fact that they have inadequacies because they didn't get the cutoff points for the university, when there is an industry like this one that can give them massive opportunities for growth. I think we are really cutting ourselves short. Then I was saying earlier how recently we had a ship, just to illustrate how important it is. Ship in port, and this captain says, it's my last voyage, it's my last trip. I've worked with this company for that 6 years. He's a ship captain. I got in as a cook. He's the captain.
Wow.
Now, the point I'm making is this. Where else, which other industry will you find somebody who gets in at the factory floor level, but because they had other talents that academia maybe didn't recognize, but they are able to grow because this is an industry that recognizes your other innate gifts
and
not
abilities.
just the academia. So we'll be doing ourselves a great favor if we open this whole world for our children, because it's the right thing to do. If you export labor, for example, the professionals, and this is something practical, you export doctors. If a Kenyan trained doctor goes, let's say, to the US, they won't get tomorrow robe and get into. They have to go through other retraining, and it takes time.
It's expensive.
But here, you get in and you just keep growing and growing to the top.
Absolutely.
And then the money is not bad. You know, talent is recognized and properly remunerated.
Right.
Yes.
I love that, and I hope all the young people are listening. Essentially, there's no limitation here. What you got as a grade in school, there's no limitation for you to try a hand at this, receive the training. There are now institutions that are offering this, including Mount Kenya University. The Maritime Academy in Malindi is the freshest entrant into this field. There's quite a lot. But before we go, I want to give our dear Ambassador Nancy an opportunity to speak to Kenyans. This is your camera.
Oh, thank you.
I want you to speak from your heart to Kenyans. If you had 3 key things to say to them, as quick as you can, there's your camera. Speak to Kenyans, they're listening. All the young people, all the people who are seeking this gospel, they're eager.
I think I would be doing a disservice if I don't share the story of this young man who was recruited in the maritime sector. He didn't have training. He was from Marsabit. He is from Marsabit. And when we were doing mass recruitment in 2022, he was interviewed, and the recruiter thought he had the right attitude. He'd just finished Form 4 already, but he didn't have the time for training, but they thought he could go in as a utility. Utility is, what can I say? You don't have any special training, but he would help. But now, he went, and after the first contract, he so impressed the people on board, the bosses. By the second contract, they told him, we are going to train you in what you want to do. And the boy has chosen to be a captain. So he's already on track. And that's the point I'm making. It doesn't matter where the school system placed you. Here is an opportunity to reach your dreams, and we are doing a disservice to our children if we are not giving them an opportunity. But of course, it starts with awareness. Awareness, and attitude also. Very, very important.
All right.
And will create global citizens who, if you look at history of other economies, and I could cite South Korea, the industrialization came on the backbone of the seafarers that they trained, because when they came back, they had managed to do savings. And because the training is so intense and so good, it transforms the people, the young people, into, you know, sturdy, resilient, and people who are different. And they are able to set up then, when they come back home, they've got the money, they've got the discipline, they've got the experience, they've got the connections. And look at what potential it has for a country like us.
Absolutely.
Growth.
Growth and growth and growth.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, clearly, this conversation is bigger than the time that we have. But I would like to believe that in the little time that we've had, we've left a seed of hope, a seed of inspiration, a seed of enlightenment in the minds of those that have been watching us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had the pleasure of having Ambassador Nancy Karigithu here with us this evening, here to share her wisdom out of a long and distinguished career in the maritime sector, particularly starting as a legal professional in the sector, but now an advisor over a wide range of issues. And thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you very much.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
And thank you, Kenyans, for being with us, and I hope that somebody will do something.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope you heard those two stories, very inspirational. It doesn't matter where you come from. This is a sector that embraces everyone, and the opportunities are astronomical. It's a wide open space for anyone to come in. I'm almost tempted myself to take to the sea.
Thank you.
Well, good people, thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
And I'd like to wish you a good night. Tonight we have been coming to you live from the Nyali Golf View Resort and Residence right here, and we appreciate them for giving us the space, and we want to wish you a good night full of God's blessings. Up next is VAR with the great Duncan Mutua. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Good night. Thank you so much.